Innovation. And we are a 19-year-old company. We work with leading global technologies to bring cutting-edge solutions to team across industries, especially in the area of DevSecOps, compliance, and innovation in data management. I hope you already know the title of the webinar, but let me just do it again. Today's session is entitled with Accelerate Data Delivery and Compliance in Non-Production. So we'll be exploring how leading enterprises are leveraging tools like Delphix to speed up their dev test cycles while ensuring the data privacy and compliance. There will be a live demo also, instant visual database provisioning, profiling and masking of a VDB, end-to-end automation for CI/CD pipelines. And of course, there will be a question answer session also. So whatever you feel like that there is a question in your mind related to the topic related to the tool, you can simply drop that question in the chat box. I'll surely help you with the answers in the end of the session. And before moving to the poll, I just wanted to tell you that this session is being recorded and we'll be sending you all the recording to your email IDs from which you have registered or the numbers. And if you face any kind of a technical issue while attending this webinar, you can just simply ping on the chat box. We are there to assist you also. So I just wanted to move on to the poll. So I am sharing you the link of the poll in the chat box. You can simply use that link and you can participate in the poll. I just request you all to please participate in the poll. Allow me a moment to share the link. So I've shared the link for the poll and I'll be sharing my screen. Please use that link to enter in the poll. I hope I am audible to everyone. If there is any issue, please do drop into chat box. I'm also sharing my screen after 10 seconds when you are entered in the chat poll. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So as I can see, the first question is, how do you currently deliver test data to your dev test teams? I just wanted you all guys to please participate in the poll and do let us know. You have 10 to 15 seconds or 20 seconds to answer, to take your time to answer. I hope everybody has submitted their answers. Can we move to the next question? Okay. What's your top priority when managing non-production data? So there are the options. If you can simply poll according to you, and we are waiting for your poll. I hope everybody did the poll. So we should move to third question. Can we move to third question? That's great. How long does it typically take to provision test data in your environment? Okay, so that's a nice question. Waiting for the answers. I guess everybody got the question, so I should stop sharing. Okay. Oh, Poonam is saying that she's unable to choose option. Okay, team, can you please help? I hope everybody has answered it successfully. So can you please share the screen, team, so that we can discuss the answers also? Okay, that's great. The first question was, how do you currently deliver test data to your dev test teams? And most of the people has mentioned that manually create and refresh 60%. And then it goes to 20% for use custom scripts and homegrown tools. Then 20% goes to we don't have a consistent process. Okay, not sure to 0% and use a commercial test data management 0%. Okay, that's great. Can we move to next? Okay, the next question was, what's your top priority when managing non-production data? Okay, 40% have given reducing storage cost, and 40% is all of the above. 20% goes to ensuring data privacy, and rest is 0%. So we should move to next. Okay, the third question was, how long does it typically take to provision test data in your environment? And majority of you have said that more than 3 days, that is 66.7%. That's great. And 1 to 3 days got 33.3%. Rest of the options are zero. Okay, so I think we should end the poll now and we should move to our speaker. So now I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker today, Andrew Lee. So Andrew supports the Delphix data platform and works closely with the ecosystem of strategic partners. Prior to Perforce, he spent 2 years with Delphix, like 2022 to 24, driving regional growth and partner enablement with over 30 years of IT experience. That's very great, sir. Andrew has deep expertise across the entire data lifecycle, from backup and storage to disaster recovery, virtualization, and data governance. Over the past decades, he helped organizations modernize their DevOps practices while ensuring strict compliance and data privacy also. So we are thrilled to have you over here, Andrew, and he'll be walking us through the Delphix platform and he'll be giving us the live demo. If you have any questions, please drop the questions in the chat box. If there is opportunity, I'll definitely ask him in the between of the live demonstration. Else, we'll be answering them all in the end. Over to you, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. And can everybody see my slides? Yes? I'm just going to turn off my video just to save bandwidth. Okay, so it's 6 p.m., a little bit over 6 p.m. here in Singapore, the 19th of June, 2025. Hold on. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this from, whether it's this live streaming webinar or a recorded version of it. I would first like to thank you for taking time off from your busy schedule to attend this webinar, which I will talk about Delphix and how we can help accelerate data delivery and compliance in the non-production environment. My name is Andrew Lee, and I am the Partner Solution Architect for Delphix across APJ. Now, Perforce is a force to be reckoned with. Perforce software, if you are not aware, is a global provider of enterprise-grade development tool, specializing in things like version control, DevOps, application lifecycle management, performance testing, functional and API testing, mobile performance testing for the front end, and things like static analysis, and many, many more, as you can see from this circle of products that we have here. Now, Delphix play in several areas within this circle. As you can see, DevOps data platform, infrastructure and testing automation, as well as data security in the form of masking, data masking, especially for DevOps and testing and the downstream environment. So To begin with, I'm sure you've heard of this, words here that it says, it's not the big that eat the small, it's more like the fast that eat the slow, right? The most successful companies today, the true leaders in their industries, aren't just delivering software faster, they are innovating a lot faster at breakneck speed. The ability to iterate, release, respond in real time has become a core business advantage for them. Companies like that can move very quickly, adapting and improving continuously. And these are the one that stands out, and these are the one that pull ahead and away from their competition. These are the ones that I actually will spend my money on. So it's no longer a choice between fast and slow. It's innovate or get left behind. In some cases, it's innovate or die, like the case of Nokia or BlackBerry. And with the rise of generative AI accelerating code creation and testing, the velocity of change is only increasing, right? And where teams once push the updates once or twice a month, now we are talking about deploying hundreds of times per day. If your teams are not doing at this speed, maybe your competition are. So here are the catch. For all this speed to be sustainable, your data must also move as fast as your code. So this is where Delphix play a critical role, enabling team to access, refresh, and version data on demand across platform, development platform, testing, and their release pipelines. With Delphix, you don't have to wait for days or weeks for your data. I saw the poll just now. Most of you answered more than 3 days to wait for your data. With Delphix, you speed up compliant, high-quality data environment within minutes, regardless of the size of your data, regardless of the type, and regardless of where it is, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. That's how leading teams accelerate DevOps, scale CI/CD into the hundreds of push per day, and truly unlock the speed of innovation. So when we talk about shift left testing, which is one of the things that help organization move faster along the innovation space. Now we are talking about the practice of testing as early and as often as possible, catching defects sooner, reducing risk, improving release quality. These are the catchwords of shift left testing. But the reality here again is you can only test as early as your data is available, right? In many organizations, test data delivery, as you have voted in the poll, is slow, complex, bottleneck by ticketing system, waiting for your backup administrator or your DBA, whom is pretty much very busy with the production load itself to to come into the development side to help out. So this is where, again, Delphix comes in, provisioning compliant, realistic data in minutes on demand for every phase of your testing. So the result will be, for this shift left testing, will be an on-time, on-quality, and on-budget releases. So if you think of your software delivery as a high-speed bullet train, you got code automation, things like CI/CD tools like Jenkins, GitHub, and many more. You got infrastructure automation, Terraform, Ansible, Puppet, and but when it comes to your data, everything just slows down. Everything just bogs down. Again, taking from your vote just now, everybody, most of you said more than 3 days to wait for your data. So you're stuck waiting on tickets, approval, DB refresh, data masking, or manual handovers. So even though you are agile on the right side and automated in the middle, your velocity is limited to that bottleneck. The ability of the data, the right data at the right time and the right place. So this is again where Delphix come in. Delphix bring data automation, as you already know by now, to your DevOps pipeline, allowing team to provision, version, refresh, rewind, branch, and secure test data in minutes. Yes, you heard that correctly. We can help you version and branch data. If you are familiar with treating code doing branching and versioning using GitHub or GitLab, etc. We are doing that with data. Delphix is doing what you treat with code is what we treat data. And I'll repeat myself again. Everything is done in minutes rather than hours or days. And everything is API driven, meaning that they can be automated virtually by any CI/CD tools. Because in the race of innovation, right, it's not the strongest that win, it's the fastest. And you are only as fast as your slowest coach. With Delphix, your green coach could be the one pushing the entire train from behind. So it's like a rear wheel drive rather than a front wheel drive here. So let's talk a little bit about this. One of the biggest challenge of enterprises today is data fragmentation across multi-cloud environment. In the old on-prem world, everything is owned by the business. Even the building that the data center is located is owned by the business. The server, the network, the storage, your data, of course, and the people who work for you are all owned by the business, by the business. Yeah, and it's all managed within a very high trust environment. Now you're talking about moving over to a place, from high trust to totally no trust or zero trust. This of course introduce a lot of risk, a lot of complexity as well, and especially if you are going really into multi-cloud environment, having application in different cloud, Salesforce, AWS, and so forth. Delphix here, we act as a unified data control plane that work across on-prem, or if it's a hybrid or cloud environment or multi-cloud environment. With Delphix, you can automate test data delivery across any of these platforms in any of these cloud. And of course, data masking, compliance, governance, and maintain referential integrity across all your application across any of these cloud, right? With Delphix, our data control tower, your governance can come within a single pane of glass so that you get a complete view of where your data is, who is accessing it, whether they are accessing mass data or not, how old is the version of the data that they have, do you need to refresh them? And and especially important is the deletion of the data when it's no longer required, right? The cleaning up part of it. Yeah. So this leads us nicely into this slide here, cleaning up the environment after you use your data. Now, the cost of non-compliance is very real, like it's very public as well and very expensive. Then when we talk about data security, most people immediately think about production, but as you know, 80 to 90% of data breach are not from production. The production is so well protected. You spend a lot of money and security features within your production. But, most of the breaches that we hear about comes from non-production. Like in the case of T-Mobile here, right? T-Mobile, this is a 77 million customer record were exposed. And as their CEO admitted, right, the breach is from their testing environment, right? $500 million spent in order to remediate and to settle the fine from CCPA. So with Delphix, again, I'm repeating myself many times here, we can help you mask sensitive data before it ever leaves your production environment. And we control access in terms of who is using what, and and we ensure that data are deleted the moment it serves its purposes. Yeah. So that's sort of my marketing rara slides there. So now let's jump on to the platform itself. So the Delphix ecosystem comprises of 3 components here. You can see right in the middle is the data control tower, or we call it DCT for short. And then you have the continuous compliance engine, which is our masking solution, and the continuous data engine, which is our data virtualization solution. Now, all these 3 components are installed as a virtual machine for on-prem, and as a, the native image in the cloud. So on-prem, typically we see our machine installed in the VMware environment, where we do support Hyper-V as well. For cloud like AWS, Azure, Google, we have our own cloud native image in those environments. That means you can go to marketplace and actually deploy our this machine directly from the marketplace. But I suggest that you don't do that. You should, because as a partner of the cloud, we have no choice but to put our product in the marketplace. But the proper way to deploy something like a Delphix solution will be to go through our partner, because it is a very high touch solution, right? It is possible for you to use credit card and go ahead and try to implement it, but we suggest you don't do that because of the many, what do you call it, stringent requirement as well as configuration that you need to do. Yeah. Okay, so the Delphix, let's talk about the Delphix data engine first. The Delphix data engine, once we install in your environment, and this is a very high level because I want to spend more time in the demo as well. So, and if you want to dive deeper into our solution, I would suggest that after this, you ping our partner and arrange for a one-for-one session with you and your team. Yeah. So let's talk about this data engine, the data virtualization engine. So the Delphix data engine, first of all, upon setting up the connection to your source, the database source here, it will ingest production data into what we call our D source. Okay, our D source immediately will compress the production data into about 1/3 of its original size. And the first ingestion is full, and subsequently we ingest at the block level incremental forever. So over time, the D source become like a time series, and the time series of your production data. The D source will over time with the continuous incremental block level incremental update, it will contain all the blocks that is that represent your production data over a time series. So Delphix user, whether coming through from the Delphix control tower that manages all your ecosystem, or directly log in through the machine itself, they are able to look at the particular source and the particular D source and pick any point in time that we already have, and then provision copies of virtual DB to your intended target, which typically would be your downstream development, QA, UAT, SIT type of environment. Okay, so when I say provision a copy of the database to the what do you call it, the developer server here, for example, we are talking about being able to deliver that copy or the virtual DB within minutes, regardless of the size. Yeah, whether it's 2 gig or 200 terabyte, the time for us to provision the copy, the virtual DB, is the same. And the virtual DB, although it appears as a full-fledged database to the application or to the user here, it does not consume any capacity at all on the target side. Yeah, so it's virtual in that sense, and it is the delivery is fast. Again, I'm sure you have a lot of questions in your mind pertaining to how we do this. And again, I would suggest that you arrange for a one-to-one so that we can dive into it a bit more. Right now, this session, we're just going to stay at a high level. So now, the developer or the application that receive the virtual DB, it will see the virtual DB like any other physical DB. It will be exactly the same as your production, unless there is a requirement to mask it, right? But in all sense, it is a production database that the target server is receiving. Now, on top of being able to provision virtual DB to the environment here, we also provide a self-service capability so that the data user, like the developer or the QA and the UAT and the SIT people, will be able to manage their own virtual DB. If authorization is given, they can provision their own copy. They can, start the virtual DB. They can branch it. They can rewind it to a specific point in time. They can refresh it from a fresh copy from production and etc. Now this saves a lot of time because typically if you are dealing with a physical copy, usually they will have to involve many different party like backup administrator. First of all, they have to open up a ticket, right? And then they have to involve people like backup administrator, the DBA, sometimes even storage and network as well in order to just get a database up and running into a particular server. But here, given our role-based access control and the user has that this authorization, they can pretty much do all the data, what they call it, tasks by themselves. Yeah, and the next thing here about this environment is that whatever we do here, 100% can be automated. Yeah, because everything we do is API first. So with that, we can pretty much automate our processes within any CI/CD tool. So now a lot of environment, of course, especially when we talk about the non-production environment, you may have a firewall or maybe even air gap between production zone and non-production zone. So it's quite typical that we see a deployment of many other engines and into this environment so that we can set up replication whereby only mass data leaves the production environment and get replicated to the intended environment. So this could be the same data center but with a network firewall, or it could be in the cloud. A lot of people are doing testing in the cloud these days. Yeah. So yeah. So if the virtual DB requires to be masked, then the process is instead of directly what they call it provision to the non-production environment, typically you would designate a server for masking purposes within the production zone, and the data engine will mount a virtual DB to this server, and then the masking engine will mask that virtual DB. And once that virtual DB is masked, then it becomes sort of like your master mask copy, whereby you can take version of the master mask copy and deliver copies of that to your environment. So that way, you mask one, but provision many times. Now, just a logical flow of what I just said earlier. So from the D source, which is a time series of your production source data. First of all, you might want some of your provisioning to be original production data, like for example, for your SRE folks, or when you need to do production troubleshooting, like a Murex application vendor asking for an environment for them to troubleshoot, or maybe even to practice upgrading a system, and you might also want to offload some of your production workload, like the case of reporting. So instead of reporting directly from production, you provide the reporting server with a copy of the latest copy of the production database. And things like AI ML learning, of course, you want the AI ML learning to learn on real data, not mass data, right? So on the other side of the fence, when it comes to non-production or the downstream, you will certainly need to mask your data. It's not a good idea to pass non-mask data over the fence here. So like I said earlier, you mask one copy and that become your master mask copy, and from there you can deploy as many copies as you want. And here with the role-based access control, your data user, the developer, the QA tester, and etc., they can pretty much do all the data tasks by themselves, and they do not have to wait on a ticket or wait for a person or resources to be available in order to do that. Now, there's two more slides which I want to talk in terms of the product platform before I move on to the demo environment. So, and this is about masking. So, there are a lot other masking feature. These two are the popular in terms of customer or partner raising question. Yeah. So masking or tokenization. So we have both. When it comes to masking in the Delphix term, this is changing your data from the original to a fictitious but realistic what do you call it result. Yeah. So name will look like name. Everything will look the same format. Even the dashes or the all the format will be maintained. And one of the biggest requirement of masking is that it should not be reversible. So therefore, it is not reversible. Yeah. Now, tokenization, on the other hand, is replace your original data with a token, and a token is basically just a alphanumeric string. But the idea of this whole tokenization is that you can run a de-tokenization job to take this tokenized data and de-tokenize it back to your original data. Now, the good thing is that you don't have to choose between one or the other. You can have one column doing masking and another column doing tokenization. And there are some really interesting use case, which I hope one day I might be able to explain it to you on a one-to-one basis. Again, please contact our partner for that. And yeah, so that's the difference between masking and tokenization. Now, the other popular thing which always comes up and finally end up in this slide by default is that referential integrity. Now, our masking solution will maintain referential integrity across all your platform, across no matter where the data is. So if let's say if you have a piece of data and Andrew has been masked to Danny, let's say, yeah. So every Andrew in every tables and every database, don't have to be the same database, in different Delphix engine in the cloud or another on-prem location, every Andrew will be Danny. Now, this is important, especially if you're doing end-to-end, what do you call it, testing, right? Referential integrity need to be maintained, otherwise your test will fail. Simple as that. Okay, so here is where I jump into the demo. So I hope I have enough time to run this. So before that, let me give you some background about what this demo is. This is a full end-to-end Jenkins automation run. So the first thing I'll do is that I have two DSOS in my lab, one from the CRM database, the other one from the ERP database. They are both Postgres DB. So I will first provision a virtual DB from both, and then we will proceed to mask the virtual DB. And I will call the virtual DB AL CRM mask and AL ERP mask. Once the virtual DB has been masked, I will then provision 4 more virtual DB from these two master mask copy. Yeah, and I will provide the copies to the QA people as well as the development people. So the QA side will get the CRM QA virtual DB and the ERP QA virtual DB, and the development, of course, the CRM dev and the ERP dev. Okay, so altogether there will be 6 virtual databases here, 2 master copy and 4 virtual DB for the data users. This is the entire view of the Jenkins pipeline, but let me walk you through that. So at this point, I already explained we provision the copies, the 2 copies, and then we mask it, and then we provision the 4 other copies. So this is the build phase. After the build phase, we'll go into the test phase. The Jenkins will basically instruct Delphix to, before the testing begin, we will take a bookmark of the QA CRM vDB, and we will call the bookmark pretest. This is right before we start the test. Yeah. So once the bookmark has been taken, then we will run the test. And this test is designed to fail with a very visual error, which I will show you afterwards. Okay. So once we hit the error, then we will take another bookmark. Okay. And this bookmark, we will call it error bookmark. So once we have done that, we reach the error handling part of the pipeline. So what we want to do is to revert the QA virtual DB, rewind it back to the pretest bookmark, because we know that particular bookmark is where the database is good. It was before we ran the test, right? So that he can get back sorry, so that he can get back a good copy of the database and continue with the rest of his testing, right? Because he doesn't want to continue with a bad or broken database. So now for the dev, now we need to tell the dev about this particular error that happened on this particular test. So we need to show the developer the error condition that was created by the error. So we give him the bookmark, we share the bookmark with the developer, and as he point and click onto the database, the bookmark, then his virtual DB will be transformed to the one that shows the error. And therefore he could troubleshoot and find out what the problem is and fix it or whatever that he needs to do. Now, as it goes, the entire pipeline at the end of the day will be completely removed. The Jenkins will instruct Delphix to delete everything, the bookmarks, the 6 virtual DB, so that this particular virtual machine, these resources here can be used for other workloads. Okay, so that's the run of the Jenkins pipeline. Oops. So now let's get on to the motion of it. So this is my data control tower, my DCT. Right? I can show you here. And again, I'm not going to talk about the details of the all this function and feature. Yeah, again, if you're interested, we can set up a one-for-one with our partner. So let's go to the VDB first. I will look for VDB with the AL underscore. There is no VDB in the environment in this ecosystem that has the name AL underscore. Yeah, remember all our virtual DB start with AL underscore. It will be CRM, MAS, or QA or Dev, right? Or ERP, QA, Dev, and etc. So none of them has the name AL and this underscore here. And if you look at the let me log back in. If you look at the when we are connected directly to the engine, it gives you the same result as well. So we have a lot of virtual DB already, but none of them are the one that we are dealing with. Here is my masking solution. I'm connected to the masking engine at this IP address. I've set up the page to show execution job, because when the masking started, then you'll be able to see the job running here. Okay, and this is my Jenkins. Okay, so I will begin my testing now. I will run the pipeline, and the best way to view is to look at the ocean blue format. So we are provisioning 2 virtual DB. Let's go to the control tower and wait for the virtual DB to come up. Now, if you are directly connected to the virtual machine, to the data engine, like this browser here, you can already see it's up and running. It's just that the control tower, being the governance across many ecosystem, is just a little bit later in terms of its update. And now you see that the 2 virtual machine is up and running. The 2 virtual database is up and running. Yeah, so it's called AL CRM MAS and AL ERP MAS. So we reached the first pause point where I want to go to my database viewer, and I already created connection to all these important database that we want to look at. So the first one is AL CRM MAS, and if I run my select command here, I'll be able to see the data that is in this particular database. Now, if I go to AL ERP MAS, again I run the command. SQL command, again, I will see the content of the database. Now, we should name this tab before masking, so we can come back and look at it after masking. Same here. I will call it before masking. Now, let's go back to our pipeline here and get it to proceed. So the next step is that it will begin to mask the 2 virtual DB that we just provisioned. And this is when we want to go to the masking here. So as you can see, 2 jobs has just been started, and it's simultaneously masking both the virtual DB. So one is completed, the other one is still running. Just give it a few more seconds. So after it perform masking, then it will take a snapshot of both the mask virtual DB. So once the snapshot has been taken, again, this will just take a short while. So once we have taken the snapshot, then we can proceed to provision the 4 virtual DB into the QA and the dev environment. Now this is taking a lot longer than before. You know what? It's just probably the browser. Let me just refresh this because it says. Yeah, because it says it's completed already. So let me just go back to full screen here. Sorry about that. Okay, so we reached a point where it already completed the masking job. And then what I want to show you is the mask version of the master mask copy. So if we come back to here and we refresh the database, but we put it into a different tab, you can already see that you know, the name has changed slightly. We will call this after masking. And then for this as well, you run that and we'll call it after masking. Now, just very quickly, we're not going to go through everything. If there's time, we will walk through every column. But before masking, it was Jennifer Meekum with this full name, with this email. After masking, you can see it changed to Christian Treher with this full name and with that email and that addresses, etc. So let's move on. So now from here, let's proceed to provision copies of virtual DB to QA and dev. So 4 new virtual databases will appear in the environment now. So we go back here and we just wait for them to appear. Total will be 6 by the time you're done. Okay, it's all done. Just need a bit of time for it to update. So now let's come back to here. And from here onwards, we're just going to focus on the QA side. And I'm sorry, the CRM side and not so much on the ERP side. So for the CRM QA vDB, let's take a look at the database. So this database is the mask version. Christian Treher, remember, that's the mask version of the database. And from the CRM developer database, you see that it is also the mask version. Yeah. The original version, if you remember, is Jennifer Meekum. The mask version is Christian Treher. So the CRM and the dev are both exactly the same as the mask version because these are daughters from the mask version, the master mask copy. So let's continue here to the next stage, which is the testing stage. So the first thing we'll do in the testing stage, as you saw earlier in my slide, is we'll take a bookmark. So if I come here and go to bookmark, I'm already too late. The bookmark is already, the first bookmark already appeared, and we are calling it pre-test bookmark. Yeah. And after this bookmark has been established, then we will move on to run a script to simulate testing. And this script actually will destroy the database a little bit. And it's a very visual kind of error. So I'll show you that. And then we will also take a bookmark at that point, and we'll call it the error bookmark. Yeah. So let's just wait for that to happen. And you notice that I've inserted all these pause here because if I don't put in the pause, this whole thing will run within 6 to 7 minutes and you won't be able to see anything. And then when you walk out the door, you will ask for a refund. So let's wait for the next pause before we have a look at the data again, and I'll show you the error that was created and the two bookmark that we created as well. The second bookmark just came on, so the error bookmark has been established as well, which means our database is ready for viewing actually. So if I go to the QA where we run the test, right, and I refresh this database, you see that the last name has been corrupted. Everything is Lee now. Everybody's is my cousin, right? So, and that's not true. So, but the dev vDB is still the same because we didn't really touch this at all. The developer possibly working on version 2 of the application. So he's at this point, he's not aware of the error. The error happened on the test in the QA side. So let's continue here. And let me just go back here for a quick while. Now, what we wanted to do next is basically, as we are hitting the error here, we want to take the CRM QA database, which is broken now, and we want to rewind it back to the good point in time, which is the pre-test bookmark, so that he can continue testing with a good database. And for the developer, we want him to see the error, so we will give him the bookmark and ask him to refresh his database, pointing to the QA error bookmark. Yeah. So this is what the script will do next. So we say proceed, and it will go ahead and do what I just said earlier. It will refresh dev, it will rewind QA. And then it will pause again so that we get a chance to look at the data. It will take a few more minutes, so we are good on time, 11 minutes to our end of the session. So yeah, now let's go and look at the database here. Let's start with the QA first. Remember, QA, we rewind to a good point in time. So if I refresh, you see that his database is back to a good point in time. Now he can continue with test number 4, 5, 6, or whatnot, with a good database. The developer who was working on version 2 happily and was informed about the error and given the bookmark for him to point to. And after he have done that, and when you refresh his database, you see that he's now looking exactly at the error in the exact state that it happened. Now it will assist him in terms of troubleshooting and find out exactly what happened to the code that he wrote, and provide a fix for that. Now, the database that he had earlier before he converted to this is still there within Delphix. That could be version 2 that he's working on, and maybe he makes some changes to the database and all that. So that database, that version of database is still there. When he's done with this troubleshooting and fixing, when he's done with this particular version of the database, he can switch back to his original timeline, which is what he was working on earlier. Now, at this point, that's the end of my presentation here. At this point, if I proceed, it will just go ahead and delete the 4 daughters and then the mothers. Yeah, all 6 virtual DB will be reversed out, and this particular resource, this virtual machine, will be free to take on the next workload. Okay, so that is my presentation. So we still have about 10 minutes. So yeah, do you want to open up for question or?
Okay. Thank you so much, Andrew, for insightful session. So we are already open for floor for the Q&As. And I guess we have some questions. Actually, first question is mine only. So I just wanted to know, since compliance is a big theme nowadays, okay, so how does Delphix help companies to meet privacy regulations like GDPR and PCI DSS in non-production?
Great question. So in our masking solution, which I didn't show because again, if you want to look at all these things, it should be a face-to-face, a much deeper dive kind of session rather than this webinar. In our what do you call it, the masking solution here, we have a profiler, and the profiler, we have something called a profile set. Now, the profile set basically, we from out of the box, we already have set some profile set that are attuned to like GDPR or CCPA, or maybe a healthcare kind of business, education kind of business, and things like that, right? But you can also create your own custom profile set that conform to your business requirement, your business policy in terms of what your business consider as sensitive. I'll give you an example. Postcode. Some companies says that postcode is sensitive and some don't, right? So your profile, you choose whatever you want in terms of tell us what you think is considered as sensitive and what is not. This would help tremendously shorten the time of profiling. And not only that, it makes profiling more accurate in terms of what you want to search and flag when we do profiling. So yes, we already have, out of the box profile set and GDPR, CCPA, many more industry or global standard, plus some example for other industry as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfectly. So coming to the next question we are having from Amit. So he's asking, what are some common pitfalls, sorry, or risks that companies overlook while managing non-production data?
I would say the biggest pitfall would be, it's very simple thing is that a lot of data that has been provisioned into the environment, whether you do backup restore or things like that, they are left unattended. And sometimes, and also they are not secured in terms of being masked and all that. And as you can see, as I alluded to earlier, most of the breaches comes from non-production environment, and especially these copies of data that is left unattended. I hope I answered that question.
Amit, I hope the answer for the question is for you only. So if you feel like that there is something you wanted to ask more, you can simply drop in the chat box. Third question is from Mayank. He's from Delhi, and he's asking, how does Delphix support data versioning and time travel in test environments?
Okay, if you have watched the presentation earlier, I mentioned, I can actually go back to the slide here. You can still see my screen, right? Right. So as we ingest data into the Delphix engine, right, the first copy is full, but subsequently block level incremental forever. We therefore, in our DSource, we therefore create a time series for your source. The time series contain every point in time since the beginning of Delphix ingestion, right? So your question with regards to, let me read again, data versioning and all that. So data versioning is basically, which particular point in time do you want, right? So you can basically use our tool to time travel back and forth, and you can choose any point in time based on day, month, year, hour, minute, second, and recreate that particular copy and provision it as a virtual DB into your environment. All right. And for databases like Oracle and MS SQL, beside point in time, you can also use the what Oracle calls LSN. The logical serial number, the transaction. You can go to the transaction level or the transaction point if you have that particular logical serial number of that transaction. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I do have the last question. I guess nobody's asking questions. So I just wanted to know, Andrew, how we can differentiate between this traditional ways of handling data and Delphix. Like how the Delphix stand over there when we are comparing it with the traditional data handling.
In terms of data provisioning or data masking?
Data provisioning, I must.
Okay, so yeah, many different ways, right? So if you do not have Delphix, typically, most customer will take backup of their source data, and then they will restore whenever a developer or a QA asks for the data. Now, what happens is that in most cases, you will find that developer or QA or UAT SIT, they are sharing a test database, one database being used by many different groups. And because of that, they might take turn, they might schedule, okay, today is for the developer, and next Thursday, for 3 days, it will be for the QA. And as you can see, how are you going to innovate fast if you are going into, I mean, if you're still using that kind of model, right? The fact that you're sharing the database also means that you cannot run disruptive testing that purposely destroy a database and see how the application reacts to it, right? Because the entire database is shared. So the time taken to backup, restore, and mask the database before you release to the user itself is already, take up time, resources in terms of people and physical storage and network and things like that. So yeah, all in all, you're talking about like you said, more than 3 days to get the data. Now, to be honest, the bigger the organization, the longer it is. Some of the largest banks are telling us they take 3 weeks from the first time they raise the ticket until the data actually appears in their environment. Some smaller companies are saying that they take 1.5 days to 2 days. But none of them, without Delphix, none of them has claimed in terms of minutes.
Understood. So I think there is no more questions in the chat box. Guys, if you still wanted to ask, you can. So we wanted to move to the quiz because it's already 4:30. We should be moving to the quiz. So we are pasting the quiz link in the chat box. I request you all to join the quiz using that particular link and participate into that. Uh, okay, I hope everybody is joining the quiz. So we'll be sharing our screen with the questions of the quiz. We should wait 2 or 3 more minutes to everybody should join. There is Poonam, there is Ramya, there is Ashok, there is AK, there is Deep. We should wait for 2 to 3 minutes more. Let everyone join. I hope, Poonam, you're not facing any issue to join the quiz. If there is any, you can drop in the chat box. There is MK. I want to know the full name. Okay, so we have initiated the quiz. First question is, how does Delphix primarily help organizations achieve what? Sorry, what does Delphix primarily help organizations to achieve? Okay, let's see. Automate and secure data delivery for DevOps. Okay, 4 people had just done that. That's great. Moving on to the next question. Which feature of Delphix enables fast-paced, efficient test data environments? Wait. Data virtualization, and 2 people has voted for data pipelines. No worries, we'll be knowing who's the winner soon. Moving on to the next question. What is one major benefit of integrating Delphix with your CI/CD pipeline? Okay, 3 people have voted automated data refresh and rollback. One is higher software licensing cost. So, Pooja, we should move on to the winner, I guess. Okay. The first winner is AK with 197 points. Huge round of applause for you. AK, we wanted to know your whole name so that we can, like, full name so that we can send you some goodies as you're the winner. Okay, so thank you, Andrew. Thank you a lot. That brings end to the today's session, and I bring thank you to my speaker, Andrew, and all of you who joined the session. So, if you found this session valuable, until next time, take care, support, and you can simply contact Meteonic, me, anyone from the Meteonic, to have a technical demonstration of Delphix. We are waiting for you guys to have a one. Okay, Andrew, if you wanted to join, like ask something or wanted to conclude,
No, I enjoyed this session, so I hope you did as well. So until the next time, thank you so much.
take care. Bye bye. Bye bye, all.